More than 55,000 postal workers will vote today on the latest and final contract offer from Canada Post, and the Canadian Union of Postal Workers is urging members to vote no. This is after more than 18 months of negotiations and labor disruptions that have cost the corporation millions. Joining us now, Mark Lubinski, president for Cup W Local, with some insight. Mark, great to see you. Thanks for making the time.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So why are you telling members to vote no?
This is an offer that's not good for the membership. And also, not only the offer, it's the process that has happened where this vote is being forced upon the members by the government. It's a contract that Canada Post has written. They've taken out what they wanted in our old collective agreement and putting in what they want in there. So it's not good for workers. It's not good for a public post office that works for the workers and for Canadians.
Can you tell us why, Mark? Because we're hearing 14% wage increase over 4 years, cost of living allowance, full and part-time signing bonuses. What is it that you want?
Well, Canada Post wants to create a workforce that is part-time. They're looking at creating part-time flex positions at the for letter carriers, both during the weekend and during the week. It's something we want: good unionized jobs for postal workers and for other future postal workers. It's important that we're part of the middle class and we deserve to have a decent living and be able to retire with dignity. That's what we're seeking. Canada Post is trying to create this environment of chaos, of losses. It is something that is they're not gonna crack on the backs of the postal workers. We're asking our members to remain strong and to vote no for this offer.
And I hear what you're saying, Mark, but can you accept that changes need to be made to the current model of operations? Is there some compromise to be struck between what you're asking for and it sounds like the survival of Canada Post when we hear that $100 million has been lost by the Crown Corporation just in this first quarter?
Well, we agree that the weekend delivery needs to be done. We agree that Canada Post needs to be competitive. We don't agree with the mechanism where Canada Post wants to create just part-time flex work. The union has offered solutions at the bargaining table to weekend work. So we're all in favor of a postal system that works on the weekends, also delivering parcels and packets. So it needs to be workable for Canada Post and for postal workers and for the Canadian public that will need and deserve a good public post office.
So is there something in particular that just sounded like many issues? Is there something in particular you would like to see change in any future offers, although they say this is the final offer?
Well, we those part-time jobs on the weekend, we gave proposals of how those could be full-time jobs and full-timers could be rotating during the week. We offered many proposals. The problem is Canada Post had an agenda from the beginning. 2 years ago, they had an agenda, and we're at their agenda right now. It's this offer that they're just throwing them down our throats. We want a negotiated contract at the bargaining table with solutions for both that work both for Canada Post as an employer and for postal workers. Canada Post is unwilling to do that. Canada Post is unwilling to look at our proposals. And not only that, they're looking at rollbacks. The wage increases that you got to understand that's over a 4-year period. We understand that we already received 5% of that when we were mandated back to work by the federal government. The CRB agreed with the Union of Canada Post to give us 5%, but that was just the rate of inflation for the first year back in 2 years ago. So we're actually falling behind. This wage increase is not a significant wage increase. It's not. We're actually falling behind. We've taken offers in the past where we've taken 2% wage increases, but the rate of inflation was 3% or 4%. So, they talk about protection from the COLA protection, but our wages do not increase for that time. We get that protection for that short period of time. Once it reaches a threshold, I believe it's a high threshold of inflation. We only reached it a couple of times ever. And that we are looking to protect good jobs, unionized jobs, so we can have a decent living for ourselves, support our families, and be able to retire with dignity.
So, Mark, if this is the final offer and members do vote no, what's the alternative? Where do you go from that?
It is never a final offer. It's part of the bargaining process. Canada, the union is at the table. The union expects, and Canadians would expect, Canada Post to go back at the table. You know, Canada Post is a $13 billion business. Canada Post owns Purolator. A lot of the mail not being done by Canada Post right now is done by Purolator. Our CEO, Doug Enninger, sits on both as a CEO on both companies. Purolator, a private company, owned 93% by Canada Post, but there's another 7% of investors that are making huge profits right now. So
Okay, Mark.
we need, Canada Post needs to if we are asking for members to vote no. Once this contract, this offer is turned down, we expect Canada Post to go back to the table and negotiate truly and negotiate a contract that works for both of us.
Okay, we have to leave it there for time, but thank you so much for your insight. I know this is a busy day. That's Mark Lubinski, Cup W Local President. Have a good one.